Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jim Hodson here at the Fort Worth Aviation Museum, home to the most touchable warbirds in Texas. We've got the OV-1 Mohawk Association is here, and I've got a couple of their members here going to give us a little bit of their history with the airplane and the squadrons. So why don't you guys introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your association with the airplane.
Go ahead, John.
Well, hi, my name is John Bartalucci. The first time I set eyes on the OV-1D was in Fort Eustis, Virginia, and it took me by surprise. And I went up with a pilot by the name of Jack Lord, and I said, "We're gonna take you for a ride in the morning." He said, "You only need two things: your rosary beads and your dog tags." And the aircraft motor lived up to its reputation. We wound up meeting again in Germany. Mike and I is where we met.
Okay.
I turned the nuts and bolts on it, and he made sure it was wired for sound.
All right.
And Mike?
Yeah, Mike Epp. Was 73rd MI. Stuttgart, got there in spring of 77, left in the spring of 1980, avionics. It's a great airplane, worked midnight shifts a lot, launching the airplanes, receiving the airplanes, a lot of tweaking on the INS. It was a great airplane. Guardrail missions, the large can missions.
Guardrail, for people who don't know, guardrail missions.
That's that's where we'd run SLAR up and down the East German Czech borders.
Basically, to fold the gap, looking for tag.
Yeah,
okay, fold the gap. Okay.
Yeah, and it was satellite airborne radar. It detected vehicle motion,
okay,
of vehicles and so forth. That was our bread and butter during the Cold War.
Now, do y'all work with A-10s?
No,
okay,
not too much. No.
Okay.
One came to Hector Dingen Army Airfield when we were there, when it was first brought to Europe.
Okay.
We got to walk around it, look at the guns.
Because I know it was designed to work in the folded gap. That was its.
That was early '78, I think, when it landed there, right on the airfield.
Yeah, I think it was.
Stayed for like a week.
Okay.
You know, we got to look at it, but that was about it.
So, did you work with this airplane your entire time in the Army?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I sure did. And then I got out and got my AMP license and kept working on airplanes.
Okay.
And here I am, 66, still working on airplanes and flying airplanes. I fly the airplanes a lot. I was very lucky with the 73rd. I was chosen to go on a ferry flight to take 3 RV-1Ds. They'd come over from New Jersey to Stuttgart, from Stuttgart to Camp Humphreys, Korea.
Okay.
And so I flew in the right seat all the way across Asia. Southeast Asia up into Far East Asia, into Korea.
So how many of these airplanes did y'all work with? How many did you have in Germany?
I think we had, we
20.
were talking about about 20 at any given time out of the flight line. There was always a couple of hangar queens that were out there that we would rob parts from, but about 20. And they kept us busy. We did have an actual Cold War mission that we flew, the large can missions, the guardrail birds, and then we also did all the stuff for like Reforger.
Okay.
We'd fly all the missions for both sides for that, and then all kinds of photo stuff. You know, we'd do straight photo, infrared photo,
right?
The SLAR, and oh golly, I remember this airplane's got one of the strobe lights on the wing.
Right, yeah.
And I remember they came over the field one time, and it's the only time I've ever seen operational. It was amazing how bright those little strobe lights are.
Well, it's million candle power or something.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, flashing all the way across. I know we got complaints from the farmers that, you know, their chickens and cows didn't like it and so forth.
Oh well.
They weren't giving milk.
Did you work with other NATO forces over there, or was it just the Army?
It was mostly just the Army, you know, but we were at Stuttgart Army Airfield, so we would have a lot of international crews come through.
Okay.
We had a C-night crash right on the flight line, right just outside our flight line once, with a bunch of German guys.
Slide in here if you want to get.
This is John. This is John Kemper.
Come on, John, slide in here.
Come on in.
Over in Stuttgart in the late 70s. Yeah. He was my mentor. You know, he was a senior guy. When I showed up, we worked together on the flight line doing avionics.
Stuttgart was a terrible place to have to be.
Oh, it was horrible. Oh my gosh, it was just terrible.
Well, that's where I was born.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad Constadt, right? Yeah. The hospital. Yeah.
Hometown boy makes good.
But we were lucky, you know, and the older Mohawk guys were the Vietnam guys and stuff, and I respect those guys completely. I work now near Fort Bliss at an aviation museum, and so we get a lot of the veterans there at that museum, and they thank me for my service, and I tell them, it's like, look, I went in after Vietnam, I went to Germany, I worked on Mohawks, I drank beer and chased girls, you know, and that was my Army.
And a little schnitzel once in a while.
Right outside the door, right outside the gate.
But those guys were sleeping in foxholes in the sand and stuff. I mean, those guys are the real warriors and stuff.
They were the heroes.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you guys.
Thank you for
We want to
this.
thank you for the opportunity to be here and seeing what you're doing with 021.
Great.
This
a
is
lot of
your
sweat, a lot of
museum as
bloody
much
knuckles
as
on that
ours.
aircraft
I'll
right
bet
there.
there are.
This
Yeah.
brings back
You know, it brings back some memories.
A
She's
lot.
looking old right now, and
Yeah. Well,
we can't wait to see her
It'll
when
come back.
she comes back to life in your hands.
this one's in better shape than a lot of them that we get. If
believe
you
that.
look in the museum, you'll see some that, like the 105 and the F-111, that really basket cases when we get them. So this one was in remarkably good condition. The paint's worn.
Yeah.
The seats were still hot, so we had to demill the seats. But
Yeah, for sure.
we're glad to have it here. It's just it's a real nice addition to everything else we do. Fits in with forward air control and everything else. And we're just glad you guys
Thank
are
you
here
so
today.
much.
This is almost 50 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
It's more than 45,
Yeah.
47, 48 years ago. It's an incredible experience.
Well, enjoy the rest of your time here.
We thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, guys.
So much.
Okay, you bet.